The next PlayStation State of Play is happening next Tuesday, and honestly, this could end up being one of the biggest PlayStation presentations in years. The rumors are saying the showcase could be over 90 minutes long, and the hype is already massive because movie theaters, including the Alamo Drafthouse, will reportedly be showing the presentation live on the big screen. So in today's video, we're going over my predictions for the upcoming PlayStation State of Play, including the games I think will appear, possible surprise reveals, and what could completely steal the show. Now we already know the biggest game at the showcase will be Marvel's Wolverine. Sony already confirmed the game will get an extended gameplay presentation, and honestly, this is probably going to be the centerpiece of the entire event. The game is scheduled to release on September 15th, and this is Insomniac Games' next major Marvel title after the success of Marvel's Spider-Man 2. The game is set in the same universe as Marvel's Spider-Man, and we already know that Mystique and Omega Red are reportedly confirmed to appear in Marvel's Wolverine. But one of the biggest rumors surrounding the game right now is the possible appearance of Jean Grey. And honestly, if Jean Grey appears, that would be a massive moment because it could officially connect Wolverine more deeply into the larger X-Men universe inside Insomniac's Marvel universe. I would be shocked if Sabretooth does not appear. Sabretooth is easily Wolverine's greatest enemy, and the rivalry between the two characters is one of the most iconic rivalries in Marvel history. So there's a very strong chance Sony and Insomniac Games save Sabretooth as one of the major reveals during the showcase. And another character that could potentially appear is William Stryker, the man behind the Weapon X program that experimented on Wolverine and gave him his legendary adamantium claws. I also think there's a very strong possibility that Sony reveals a special limited edition PS5 bundle themed around Marvel's Wolverine. We already saw Sony do something similar with the Spider-Man 2 PS5 bundle, so it would make perfect sense for Wolverine to get the same treatment. Personally, I could see the console featuring a darker black and yellow design with Wolverine claw slash marks across the PS5 covers, maybe even battle damage inspired by the Weapon X program. Wolverine is expected to be PlayStation's biggest exclusive game for holiday 2026. Sony would absolutely want a collector's edition console bundle ready for launch. Another game I think we'll definitely see at the State of Play is Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. Now this game is scheduled to release at the end of July, and we've already gotten several character reveals over the last few months. Most recently, Hulk and Black Panther were officially revealed for the roster, which got a lot of fans talking online. Of course, there's already debate surrounding the version of Black Panther being used in the game, with Shuri reportedly taking on the role instead of T'Challa, and you already know there are gonna be people online arguing about it. But honestly, the bigger focus right now is the growing roster and which Marvel characters could be revealed next. And this is where things get really interesting. There's been speculation online, especially from Marvel fan accounts like Symbian on Twitter, that Carnage could be the next major reveal for the game. Now here's why fans believe that. At the end of the latest character trailer, there was a quick shot showing Spider-Man alongside green effects and slash marks, and the number 361 briefly appeared. Hardcore comic fans immediately noticed that this is likely a reference to the Amazing Spider-Man number 361, which was the very first appearance of Carnage back in the 1990s. So honestly, it feels very likely that Carnage could be the next villain revealed for the roster. And if that happens, I could definitely see him being part of Doctor Doom's side or some larger villain faction within the game's story mode. Personally though, I'd also love to see Venom officially appear in the game as well. But I think the bigger prediction here is that the next wave of reveals will focus on villains connected to Doctor Doom. That could include characters like Magneto, Enchantress and Green Goblin. And maybe as an extra surprise, we could finally learn more about Ghost Rider's side of the game as well. If Marvel Knights characters end up appearing, we could potentially see the Punisher, Blade, and Daredevil. So overall, I definitely think another big character reveal is happening at the State of Play, and Marvel Tokon could quietly become one of the biggest multiplayer games of the summer. There's a very good chance we could finally see what God of War spin-off game focused on Kratos' former wife, Faye. We were introduced more to Faye during Ragnarok, but this rumored spin-off would supposedly explore her earlier years as a warrior, how she became such a legendary fighter, and eventually how she met Kratos himself. And honestly, that could make for a very interesting story because there's still so much mystery surrounding her character. The reports claim the game will still feature the same brutal action-focused combat that the God of War series is known for, with heavy melee gameplay and cinematic boss battles. So even though it's a spin-off, it would still feel very much like a traditional God of War experience. If this game is real, then this upcoming State of Play could be the perfect place for Sony to finally reveal it. But that's not the only God of War game going around right now. Could the God of War Trilogy remake finally be shown? The game is a remake of the Greek trilogy game to fit it with modern visuals, updated gameplay mechanics, and possibly rebuilt cinematics for modern PlayStation hardware. The original Kratos voice actor, Terrence C. Carson, returned to voice the character in this game. Now personally, I'm still not fully convinced the trilogy remake will appear at this June's State of Play. It feels like something Sony might save for a bigger showcase later this year. But then again, PlayStation can be very unpredictable sometimes, and they do love dropping surprise announcements when fans least expect it. Another game that I fully expect to appear at the State of Play is Phantom Blade Zero. The game is currently scheduled to release on September 9th, which is actually pretty interesting because that's the exact same date the original PlayStation launched in North America 31 years ago. Now ever since Phantom Blade Zero was first revealed, the game has gotten a lot of attention because of its fast-paced combat, dark atmosphere, and cinematic action style. A lot of people compare it to a Souls-like game, but honestly, it also seems to mix in elements of classic action games with extremely fast sword combat and stylish animations. And visually, this game looks absolutely incredible on the PS5. The lighting, the combat effects, the character animations, everything about it screams next-generation action game. So I definitely think Sony will give the game one final major trailer before launch, possibly showing off more boss fights, new weapons and abilities, story details, and maybe even deeper gameplay mechanics. And since this is one of PlayStation's major exclusive titles heading into the fall season, Sony will probably want to give it a strong marketing push during the showcase. Honestly, Phantom Blade Zero has the potential to become one of the sleeper hit games of 2026 if the gameplay delivers the way fans are hoping it will. Another game that I think has a strong chance of appearing at the State of Play is 4 Loop. Now this game is being created by Mike Booth, who many people know for working on Left 4 Dead, and it's also being developed by Bad Robot Games, which is connected to film director J.J. Abrams. And honestly, the concept of this game sounds pretty interesting. The game is described as an online sci-fi replayable tactical 4-player co-op shooter where players can either team up with friends or play solo, which is actually a smart move because not everybody wants to constantly rely on online teammates. What also makes this game stand out is that it reportedly won't be a traditional live service title, which I think a lot of gamers will be happy to hear after seeing so many multiplayer games struggle over the last few years. From the early details, it sounds like the game is focused more on replayability, teamwork, strategy, and intense action gameplay rather than endless battle passes and seasonal content. And visually, from what we've heard so far, this could end up being one of PlayStation's more unique multiplayer experiences. Now as for the release date, I personally think there are two possibilities. Either Sony announces a surprise late summer or early fall release window, or this becomes one of PlayStation's major multiplayer games for 2027. Because realistically, I don't think Sony would want to launch a brand new multiplayer IP anywhere close to November when Grand Theft Auto 6 is expected to completely dominate the gaming industry conversation. So if 4 Loop does appear at the State of Play, I think we'll probably get a full gameplay trailer, more details about the co-op systems, and maybe even hints toward a beta or early access test in the future. Now besides PlayStation's first-party lineup, the State of Play will most likely feature a ton of third-party titles as well. And honestly, some of the biggest surprises of the entire showcase could come from third-party developers. At the last State of Play, we got our first look at the upcoming John Wick game, which is reportedly scheduled to release sometime in 2027 or 2028. And honestly, it's about time we finally get a true action-focused John Wick single-player game. From the early footage, the combat already looks brutal and cinematic, which perfectly fits the style of the movies. Now when it comes to third-party publishers, Capcom could once again have a massive presence during the showcase. I think Onimusha, Way of the Sword is almost guaranteed to appear, and this could finally be where Capcom reveals the official release date. Capcom games have consistently appeared at PlayStation showcases over the years, so it would honestly be shocking if Onimusha didn't show up. Another major possibility is Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3. Now according to reports and rumors, the third Final Fantasy VII Remake game is expected to become multi-platform this time instead of remaining a PlayStation exclusive title. But even with that, PlayStation and Square Enix still have a long history together, so I definitely think there's a chance the game could appear during the State of Play. Another game that could receive a new trailer is Silent Hill: Townfall. The game is reportedly scheduled to launch in 2026 and is rumored to act as a prequel connected to the original Silent Hill storyline, supposedly taking place in Scotland during the 1990s. And honestly, Silent Hill has had a huge comeback recently. Between Silent Hill 2 Remake, Silent Hill F, and rumors of the original Silent Hill remake being in development, Konami clearly seems fully committed to bringing the franchise back in a major way. We could also get another look at Assassin's Creed IV: Black Flag, Resynced, which is rumored to launch on July 9th. If the remake is real, we'll probably see another trailer showing off the upgraded graphics, improved naval gameplay, and modernized combat systems. Now we also know that Microsoft is bringing games like Fable, Forza Horizon 6, and Halo Combat Evolved projects to PlayStation platforms eventually. But realistically, those announcements will probably be saved for the upcoming Xbox Games Showcase rather than Sony's event. Still though, I definitely think we'll get a few unexpected third-party surprises during the State of Play. And while some of the biggest reveals may ultimately happen during Summer Game Fest later that week, expect Sony's State of Play to still feature a very strong lineup of third-party games and trailers. Now one of the more interesting possibilities for this State of Play involves Fairgame. As most people already know, Sony's live service strategy has had a very rough last couple of years. After the failure of Concord and reports that several other multiplayer projects were cancelled or delayed, many PlayStation fans have begun questioning whether Sony should continue to push heavily into the live service market. And honestly, Fairgame Dollar was one of the games that received a mixed reaction almost immediately after it was revealed during the 2023 PlayStation Showcase. A lot of fans weren't excited about another live service multiplayer title, and since then, we really haven't heard much about the project. But now there are rumors that Sony recently registered a new trademark called Break-In, and some people believe this could actually be a complete rebranding of Fairgame Dollar. And honestly, that might not be a bad idea. According to several reports and rumors online, early impressions of the game supposedly were not received very well internally, which could mean Sony decided to go back and rethink the direction of the project entirely. So the big question now is, does this game remain a live service experience, or does Sony completely shift direction into something different? Personally, I think Sony understands that players are becoming exhausted with live service games, especially after seeing so many fail recently. So if this rumored rebrand is real, maybe Sony tries turning the game into something more focused on co-op gameplay, heists, or even a hybrid single-player and multiplayer experience. Because if the game is still fully built around aggressive live service mechanics, battle passes, and online-only systems, there are definitely going to be fans who continue to criticize it. But if Sony pivots the game into a more traditional action experience, that could actually end up being a smart move. Now, whether we see this project at this June State of Play or later during a possible September showcase remains to be seen. But I definitely think there's a chance Sony finally addresses what's happening with Fairgame and whether the project has evolved into something completely different behind the scenes. Another game that fans are hoping to see at the State of Play is Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. Now this game was first revealed back at the Game Awards 2024, and ever since then, we really haven't heard much about it. This is Naughty Dog's brand new IP. The game takes place in an alternate futuristic 1986, following bounty hunter Jordan A. Moon, voiced and performed by Tati Gabrielle, as she struggles to escape the quarantined planet Semperia. I think this June State of Play would be the perfect opportunity for Sony to finally show a second trailer and give us a deeper look into the world, the story, and maybe even some early gameplay footage. From what we've seen so far, the game seems to have a sci-fi setting with a darker tone, and honestly, it already feels like it could become one of PlayStation's next major franchises. Now there's definitely been a lot of online discussion surrounding the game and its main character, but at the end of the day, what matters most is whether the game itself is good. Naughty Dog has a long history of delivering cinematic storytelling and high-quality gameplay, so I think many fans are excited to see what the studio has been working on. Personally though, I actually think there's a chance this game might skip the June State of Play and instead appear later this year, maybe during a bigger PlayStation showcase in September. But either way, I definitely believe Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet is going to be one of PlayStation's biggest titles for 2027, and possibly even a cross-generation game between the PS5 and whatever Sony's next console ends up being. So over the next few months, I think we're going to slowly start learning a lot more about this project. Now we all know that PlayStation usually likes to end their showcases with one massive surprise reveal. And because this state of play is rumored to be anywhere from 60 to possibly even 90 minutes long, I definitely think Sony is saving one huge first-party announcement for the very end of the show. Now realistically, I don't think the PlayStation 6 is going to appear here. That feels more like something Sony could save for next year. But I do think there are two major possibilities for the final reveal. The first one is the rumored Infamous remake. There have been rumors for a while now that PlayStation wants to bring the Infamous franchise back, either through a full remake or a remastered collection. And honestly, if Sony rebuilt the original Infamous from the ground up with modern visuals, upgraded gameplay mechanics, and next-generation technology, that could end up being a huge moment for longtime PlayStation fans. Now, according to rumors, the game reportedly would not be developed by Sucker Punch Productions, which originally created the series, but instead by another studio working closely with PlayStation. And honestly, with superhero games more popular than ever right now, bringing back Infamous actually makes a lot of sense. But if it's not Infamous, then the other massive possibility is the long-rumored Venom game from Insomniac Games. Now this is a project fans have been talking about ever since Marvel's Spider-Man 2 released. According to the rumors, the Venom game would star Eddie Brock and take inspiration from the classic Venom, Lethal Protector comic storyline from the 1990s. And we already know that Carnage was teased heavily in Spider-Man 2, so there's a very good chance he would become one of the game's main villains. What's really interesting is that this project was originally rumored to start off as DLC for Spider-Man 2 before Insomniac supposedly decided to expand it into a full standalone game. And honestly, if Sony closed the showcase with a dark cinematic trailer featuring Venom, Carnage, and other symbiotes, the internet would absolutely lose its mind. So whether it's Infamous, Venom, or something completely unexpected, I definitely believe Sony is planning one more thing, moment to close out the state of play in a huge way. So those are my predictions for the upcoming state of play. Honestly, this could end up being the biggest state of play PlayStation has ever done. Between the rumored major first-party reveals, third-party surprises, updates on Marvel's Wolverine, possible GTA 6 news, and maybe even a huge final surprise reveal, there's definitely a lot of excitement heading into this showcase. And the crazy part is, this is only the beginning, because next week is absolutely massive for the gaming industry. Not only do we have the PlayStation State of Play, but only a few days later we also have Summer Game Fest and the Xbox Games Showcase as well. So the next few weeks are going to be huge for gaming fans everywhere. But now I want to hear from all of you. What are your predictions for the State of Play? What game do you think gets the biggest reveal? And what would completely shock you if PlayStation announced it? Leave your thoughts and predictions down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned because we'll also be covering Summer Game Fest and the Xbox Showcase right here on the channel as well. As always, we'll see you soon.